Okay, how exciting. We've come to what was our fifth session, but is now our fourth session. Helen Ross is actually a very dear friend of mine, and she's an all-round incredible human. Helen is based in England. She's a registered nutritionist uh, with honours and a gut health specialist. Helen set up the Well Life Lab, which is her business, in 2018, a nutrition company specialising in natural solutions for gut health and digestive disorders. She uses a functional medicine and evidence-based approach to help her to find the root cause or causes of her clients' health issues, including irritable bowel syndrome, food intolerances, inflammatory bowel diseases, diverticulitis, and celiac disease. She's further clinical experience with a range of conditions, including thyroid dysfunction, hormone imbalances, stress management, and autoimmune conditions, which we know are epidemic proportions now. Helen regularly attends courses for her continued professional development, which is CPD, to keep her knowledge and skills up to date with the latest research. These courses are usually related, but not limited to, the topics of gastrointestinal health, the microbiome, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which we sometimes call SIBO, thyroid hormones, women's health and hormones, and mental health and wellbeing research. She has worked as a nutritionist and a cook for retreat companies, whilst also running her own cooking workshops and one-day retreats that look absolutely to die for. Helen has a passion for cooking delicious and healthy food, and I have been able to enjoy those meals sometimes. And she loves teaching others how to easily incorporate anti-inflammatory foods into their diets. Her mission is to inspire others to ditch heavily processed and junk food and learn the art of cooking from scratch. Helen's interest in nutrition went back a long way, but it was ultimately through having to manage her own persistent gut-related symptoms that she decided to try and get to the root cause, and she knew that that would be through nutrition and lifestyle management. Helen has a passion for cooking delicious and healthy foods, like I said, and she loves teaching others, especially her anti-inflammatory foods, and some of those are actually in her book. And she loves embracing the art of cooking from scratch too. And I've seen her out in gardens picking things and then making amazing things. So I'm going to stop sharing and we are going to listen to Helen.
Thank you, Jules. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my talk about the gut-brain connection and the importance of managing a healthy nervous system for gut and brain health. So we'll be looking at how nervous system dysregulation is often an overlooked factor in the gut healing journey, and yet it's so crucial. So we'll be learning a bit about some diet and lifestyle tips and tricks to support a healthy gut microbiome and a healthy nervous system, and how to regulate your nervous system using the healing power of food and lifestyle medicine. So I'm Helen. I'm a registered nutritional therapist. I was drawn to study nutrition in an attempt to discover what was going on inside my gut that was causing my IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome. So my studies have taught me a lot, and I've learned that to effectively manage my symptoms, it was not just my diet that I needed to pay attention to, but my lifestyle as well. I'd struggled with digestive health problems for many years, and I also struggled with my mood over the years, which was likely linked to my poor gut health. And I've been practicing and specialising in gut health since 2018. I've been trained to use a functional medicine approach with a focus on personalised nutrition and lifestyle medicine. So we know that there is no one size fits all when it comes to nutrition and health, and what works for one person does not necessarily work for everyone. Most commonly, my clients will present with a range of symptoms or Jules conditions, like Jules had mentioned, but often digestive issues like constipation or diarrhea or bloating, indigestion, acid reflux, fatigue, brain fog, insomnia, as well as mood imbalances such as depression and anxiety, and even panic attacks. The functional medicine approach helps me get to the root cause or causes of their health issues. And because these conditions are often chronic, meaning that they've had them for a long time, over many years in a lot of cases, I always explain that the functional medicine root cause approach differs from an allopathic medicine approach. It's not a quick fix, and it's likely going to take some time. But by getting to the root of these issues helps with long-term management and eradication of the symptoms. And we often recommend functional testing to help us pinpoint exactly what could be causing their health problems and to enable a more targeted approach. So as a side note, I very rarely experience digestive issues these days. Oh, I don't know what that red line is. And I usually know what has caused it if I do and how to deal with it. So do you see that red line on the screen?
Yeah, it doesn't matter though. It's
Okay.
okay.
So I'd just like to be clear that this talk does not provide medical advice. It's not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, and always to seek the advice of your doctor or another qualified healthcare professional if you have any specific conditions. So in this presentation, I'm going to be looking at the link between our gut health and our brain health, and I'll be talking about the importance of the gut microbiome and a healthy gut barrier, as well as the two-way interactions between the gut and the brain, and how our digestive symptoms can affect our moods, and vice versa, how our mood can affect our gut. And I'll be giving some tips on how we can manage that. We'll also be looking at which type of diet is best for a healthy gut and discussing why the low FODMAP diet is not recommended in the long term. So over 2,000 years ago, Hippocrates, the great Greek physician, who was known as the father of medicine, said all disease begins in the gut, and he wasn't far wrong. So the digestive system is a complex system of enzyme reactions which are necessary for breaking down our food so that the nutrients can be absorbed into our bloodstream and used by our cells. If these processes become challenged, then problems can arise in many areas. And if we aren't effectively breaking down and assimilating the nutrients from our food, then nutrient deficiencies and malabsorption can occur, which can cause digestive symptoms and longer-term health problems if they aren't corrected. So I'll be looking at the root causes of IBS and other functional gastrointestinal disorders and how your diet can influence the way that you are feeling and how our gut health impacts our brain health. The gut microbiome is a vital organ of the human body that is becoming more appreciated in recent years, and a healthy, well-balanced microbiota or microbiome is essential for our good health and longevity. And virtually every health condition could be improved with a healthier gut microbiome. So the microbiome is a diverse community of microorganisms that live in the human gut and perform various functions for health and disease. And these include bacteria and viruses, fungi and protozoa. There are around 100 trillion microorganisms in the gut microbiome, which is around 10 times more cells than there are cells in the human body. And certain factors can have negative consequences on the health of the gut microbiome. So these include antibiotic use, other medications, a lack of contact with natural biodiversity, and other lifestyle factors such as poor sleep and lack of exercise, which can all lead to an imbalanced microbial population. So research has shown an association between an imbalanced gut microbiome with a myriad of chronic health conditions, including functional digestive disorders, so inflammatory bowel disease, irritable bowel syndrome, allergies, hormone imbalances, skin issues, and autoimmune diseases. And the research is also showing that imbalances in the gut microbiome are also closely correlated with imbalances in mental health, including anxiety and depression, along with autism spectrum disorders, ADHD, and other neurological disorders such as Alzheimer's disease. And up to 90% of people with IBS also experience depression or anxiety. So microbiome research is a relatively new area of health science, and it is considered to still be in its infancy, although we have seen a lot of research over the last 20 years and with huge increases over the last 5 to 10 years. And the increased use of antibiotics and other medications, such as proton pump inhibitors, can have a profound negative effect on the beneficial gut flora, which can then have a negative knock-on effect with mental health symptoms. So the microbiota is present all the way through the entire gastrointestinal system, so including the stomach, the small intestine, and the large intestine, although most microbiota reside in the colon or the large intestine. I always like to think of the gut microbiome as like a garden that needs constant care and attention. So when the weeds take over, so the weeds are the pathogenic bacteria, they take over the plants, which are the beneficial bacteria, then health issues arise. And this is also known as dysbiosis, or an imbalance of gut bacteria. So including fermented foods in the diet, which we could think of as fertilizer, that can help to feed the microbiome the beneficial bacteria it needs to thrive. So things like live yogurt and kefir, sauerkraut, and miso can all help to keep a good balance of bacteria. Unfortunately, though, for some people with extreme imbalances or overgrowth of pathogens, fermented foods may make their symptoms worse. So in that case, you would need to work with an experienced practitioner. But in a healthy gut, including prebiotics can also help to feed the probiotic or the beneficial bacteria. And many prebiotic foods are high in FODMAPs, so they may not be well tolerated until balance has been restored. A case-controlled study from 2015 showed that antibiotic exposure increased the risk of depression and anxiety. Therefore, it's important to always support the gut microbiome post-antibiotics. Research has also shown that recent proton pump inhibitor use, so PPIs, also known as, generally prescribed for acid reflux, has been linked to depression and even suicidal ideation. So the gut-brain axis is an intricate bidirectional communication network that connects our central nervous system to our gastrointestinal tract. And this system impacts nearly all of the body's physical and psychological functions, including our digestion, our metabolism, our moods, immune response, and cognition. And we know that stress can disrupt this delicate balance and influence the health of our gut and triggering a cascade of physical and mental health issues. So the gut contains a vast network of neurons or nerve cells that is collectively called the enteric nervous system, which is also known as the second brain. And along with the trillions of gut microbes, can have a significant effect on our emotions and our mental state. So when we're stressed, our brain sends signals to our adrenal glands to secrete stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline. And these hormones can significantly affect our gut microbiome and can disrupt the intestinal gut barrier, which can then lead to a myriad of health issues, which can be both physical and mental. So there are multiple routes of communication between the gut and the brain, and the gut-brain axis involves a crosstalk between the endocrine system, so our hormone system, the immune system, and the autonomic nervous system, and more specifically the vagus nerve, as well as short-chain fatty acids and the amino acid tryptophan. So serotonin, which is otherwise known as our happy hormone, is a key neurotransmitter in this system. And while it is known that serotonin is a brain neurotransmitter, scientists estimate that up to 90% of serotonin is actually made in the digestive tract. And other neurotransmitters, dopamine and GABA, are also synthesized by our gut bacteria. And studies have shown that manipulation of the microbiota may positively influence both the gastrointestinal and the neurological symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome, for instance. So it's also been noted that the management of IBS should have a large focus on managing stress through various non-pharmacological approaches, which should include dietary modification. So sometimes a low FODMAP or a modified low FODMAP diet might be recommended. Probiotics, exercise, hypnotherapy, and cognitive behavioral therapy. This is a simplified diagrammatic illustration by Dr. Miguel Toribio Mateus of the bidirectional communication pathways between the gut microbiota and the brain. And it features a range of molecules originating in the gut that are involved in the upstream part of the communication system. And also featured is the fight or flight response, which is driven by the activation of the sympathetic nervous system, and how exposure to that response plays an important role in the dysregulation of the intestinal ecosystem or our microbial diversity. So on the left side of this diagram shows how a healthy gut or a healthy intestinal lining, whereas the right side shows what can occur as a result of damage to the integrity of the gut barrier. And intestinal permeability, or leaky gut, as it's otherwise known, is an increasingly common condition where the lining of the small intestine has become more permeable than it should be, and various irritants can cause inflammation, and then the gut becomes leaky in the sense that different bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites, as well as undigested food molecules can pass through the damaged or leaky gut. And these various particles are not normally absorbed into the bloodstream in a healthy state, so they shouldn't be there. They should be within the gut. So when these foreign substances enter the bloodstream, the immune system goes into reaction mode, and it can begin to create antibodies against its own tissues. So chronic overstimulation of the immune system leads to chronic inflammation and disease processes. So over time, this can lead to nutrient deficiencies due to malabsorption, food intolerances, and autoimmune conditions. And causes of leaky gut are quite varied and include high sugar and refined carbohydrate diets, processed foods, poor nutrient intake or absorption, excessive alcohol or caffeine, pharmaceutical drugs such as antibiotics, and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs such as aspirin and ibuprofen, proton pump inhibitors, contraceptive drugs, and codeine can all have an impact on our gut health. However, please always discuss with your GP first if you're considering reducing or removing any medications. So other causes include stress or chronic stress, food poisoning and pathogenic bacteria, hormone imbalances, and toxins in our environment. So it's often a perfect storm of quite a few of these factors, not just one thing. So this diagram was also from the study by Dr. Miguel Toribio-Mateus, and it shows how our diet can heavily impact the bacteria in our gut. And eubiosis is a term used to describe a healthy balance of gut bacteria, whereas dysbiosis describes an imbalanced bacterial population. And this is what can easily occur through a combination of factors, such as a poor diet, which is high in processed foods and sugar, or excessive alcohol, certain medications, bacterial infections from food poisoning, or even just from a stressful lifestyle. So a Mediterranean type diet that is high in plant-based foods has been shown to support the production of short-chain fatty acids, such as butyrate, acetate, and propionate. And these are the preferred fuel sources for our colon cells, and they help to keep a healthy intestinal barrier. So as you can see, a diet that is high in ultra-processed foods results in decreased beneficial bacteria and microbial diversity, as well as decreased short-chain fatty acid production. So an umbrella review from 2024, this year, including nearly 10 million participants enrolled in observational studies, found that people who consumed more ultra-processed foods had a 22% higher risk of depression or depressive symptoms than people who consumed less ultra-processed foods. So people who adhered to a nutrient-dense diet were 30% less likely to have features of depression than those who do not. And examples of such diets include the Mediterranean diet and dietary patterns with low inflammatory potential, so anti-inflammatory type diet. So following a low FODMAP diet may help to reduce symptoms in the short term, but can actually be detrimental to the health of the gut microbiome, especially if it's followed for more than 6 to 8 weeks, as it's basically restricting many prebiotic-rich foods that we need for a healthy gut microbiome. And so how can we support the gut-brain connection? So eating foods that support both the gut microbiome, so plant diversity and fermented foods, and a healthy brain function, so things like oily fish and other healthy fats like nuts and seeds. Extra virgin olive oil is a really good place to start. Ensuring adequate dietary sources of tryptophan, which is an amino acid and a precursor to serotonin, so found in high protein foods, for example, chicken and turkey, fish, meat, beans, lentils, nuts, seeds, tofu, eggs, is key to maintaining a balanced mood as well as stable blood glucose levels. And having a healthy gut barrier is so important for our mental health, as over 90% of serotonin and 50% of our dopamine is made by hormones in the gut lining. So if we have intestinal permeability or a leaky gut, we're more likely to experience depression or anxiety. So eating a diet that is rich in fiber is probably the best known way to support a healthy gut, and many studies confirm the well-known adage attributed to Hippocrates, "Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food." Eating a variety of plant foods is recommended, and research is showing that including a minimum of 30 to 40 different plant foods over a week can ensure a healthy and diverse microbial population. So by plant foods, I mean not only colourful vegetables and fruit, but also a variety of nuts and seeds and legumes or pulses, whole grains, herbs and spices. Prebiotics provide food for the beneficial microbes living in your gut. So while we cannot digest prebiotics, certain beneficial microbes in our guts can. So when microbes feed on prebiotics, they produce compounds that are beneficial to your gut and your overall health. And there are many types of prebiotics. Some names you may or may not recognize. So they include inulin, fructooligosaccharides, galacto-oligosaccharides, resistant starch, beta-glucans, lactulose, glucomannan, acacia gum, and partially hydrolyzed guar gum. So whilst you can find a variety of prebiotics in plant foods, healthcare practitioners may also utilize targeted prebiotic supplements to improve your microbiome and to ensure that you're getting sufficient amounts of prebiotics. So certain prebiotic foods are also high in FODMAPs, and so they may be difficult to digest for people with gut imbalances. But after some targeted gut support, it is recommended to start with some small amounts and gradually increase what you are eating as they are better tolerated. And including fermented foods on a daily basis is usually recommended. Fermented foods have been used traditionally by almost every culture in the world as a healthy culinary addition to the diet. And the mechanisms by which they're thought to exert beneficial impacts on health include that they contain potentially probiotic microorganisms such as lactic acid bacteria. So consuming a wide variety of these foods has the potential to exert a physiological benefit to the gut by competing with the pathogenic bacteria. So any of these yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi, tempeh, kombucha, they're all really useful additions to the diet. And aiming to add a tablespoon or two a day of sauerkraut or kimchi. They can be served as a nice accompaniment to any savory dishes, and they pair particularly well with eggs or rice dishes or added to salads. And miso can be used in soups or added at the end of cooking. Miso also makes a lovely base for salad dressings and sauces. Kombucha is a fermented tea drink which can be flavored according to your taste preferences. So a SCOBY, which is this floating thing on top, is used for brewing kombucha, which stands for symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. And it's a culinary symbiotic fermentation culture consisting of lactic acid bacteria, acetic acid bacteria, and yeast. And kombucha can be made with black tea and sugar, or green tea and honey, which is otherwise known as jun. So psychobiotics might not be a term you've come across. They're a special class of probiotics that confer mental health benefits to individuals, and they've been shown to alleviate stress and mood imbalances and have been used therapeutically for various neurodevelopmental and neurodegenerative diseases. So they differ from conventional probiotics in their ability to stimulate neurotransmitters and gut hormones, as well as short-chain fatty acids and inflammatory cytokines. So they mostly belong to the Lactobacillus, Streptococci, Bifidobacteria, Escherichia, and Enterococci families, and they heavily influence the crosstalk between the gut and the brain. So psychobiotics include yogurt and milk kefir. Either make your own or always choose products with the least number of added ingredients and preferably sugar-free. So foods that are high in fiber, so prebiotics, also have psychobiotic effects. So bifidobacteria thrive on fiber, which can have beneficial effects on our moods. Eating the right kinds of foods is the best way to achieve and maintain a healthy gut. So polyphenols are natural compounds that have anti-inflammatory and antioxidant benefits and help to increase the diversity of our gut microbial population. And this is because they're thought to have a prebiotic effect on our gut microbes. So some of the foods highest in polyphenol content include berries, especially elderberries, chokeberries or aronia berry, pomegranates, blackcurrant, blueberries, also coffee, chocolate, black tea, green tea, apples, grapes, artichokes, olives, ground flax seeds, chestnuts, hazelnuts, and black beans. Research studies have shown that the bioactive constituents of culinary herbs and spices may play an important role in inflammatory disease processes and the impairment of the gut barrier. So they're really high in polyphenols, and that's been shown to modulate the gut microbes. So specifically Akkermansia muciniphila, a bacterium that is crucial for the integrity of the mucin barrier in the gut, which is often low in people with health conditions such as diabetes or metabolic syndrome and autism and inflammatory bowel diseases. So if you consider chocolate to be your guilty pleasure, it's not so guilty according to a randomized controlled trial, as long as what you're consuming is 85% dark chocolate. So this is the first study to provide evidence that daily intake of dark chocolate, so 85%, positively influences our physiological and psychological health. So when compared with 70% dark chocolate, the 85% group showed statistically significant improvements to mood and negative emotional states, whereas the 70% group didn't. So additionally, the 85% group showed that daily consumption was positively associated with changes in the gut microbiota and composition and diversity. So it was concluded that the mood-altering effects were likely to have been mediated by the changes to the intestinal bacterial diversity and abundance, and what we call the gut-brain axis. So the polyphenols found in dark chocolate may be responsible for those mind-altering effects, largely by having a prebiotic influence on the gut microbiome. So a healthy gut is the key to a healthy life, but we need to have a healthy or regulated nervous system to have a truly healthy gut. So nervous system dysregulation is often an overlooked factor in the gut healing journey, and yet it's so crucial. So the gut-brain axis plays a dominant role in maintaining homeostasis or balance in the body, and it also contributes to the maintenance of good mental health. And if we're in constant fight or flight mode, we will be producing an excess of cortisol, which is linked to inflammation and increased intestinal permeability or leaky gut, as well as gut microbiome imbalances. So chronic stress, trauma, anxiety, and depression are so often associated with poor gut health, and partly due to the fact that up to 90% of serotonin is made in the gut. So gut healing relies on having a balanced nervous system due to the bidirectional communication system between the gut and the brain, and more specifically due to an activated vagus nerve or healthy vagal tone. So besides the dietary measures I've already mentioned, stress management is one of the key strategies to controlling your gut health issues. And irritable bowel syndrome is primarily a digestive system disorder, but it's also associated as a psychosomatic disorder, which is exacerbated by stressful situations. So physiologically, when we're stressed and we're in fight or flight mode, our body's ability to digest our food is greatly hindered, and our digestive system is actually suspended during stress. So that means that the body shuts down the production of the enzymes required for digestion and also inhibits the production of stomach acid, which is required to break down or metabolize our proteins, which left undigested can cause bloating and digestive discomfort. So the vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve in the body, and its main function is to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, or the rest and digest system, which can be stimulated by practicing any stress management techniques. So a lot of the things that we've already had the other speakers talking about today, increasing your vagal tone helps to suppress inflammation, supports immune resilience and greater stress resistance, while helping to control anxiety and depression and having a beneficial impact on our gut health. So an increase in vagal tone from mindfulness-based stress reduction techniques such as yoga and meditation have been shown to reduce anxiety and depression, as well as post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. So if you don't already have one, a yoga or a meditation practice is highly recommended, and any kind of breathwork practice or acupuncture, massage, Reiki, etc. Any of those complementary therapies can be really helpful. And other ways to activate the vagus nerve, includes walking in nature, or spending more time by the sea or in the forest, or just spending more time on your self-care. So such as long relaxing baths, especially with Epsom salts, and any other relaxing activities. So gut-directed cognitive behavioral therapy is another useful strategy, and that may be possible to access through your local government initiatives. And I've written a few articles on stress management and the vagus nerve, which can be found on my website. So yeah, just some references from the studies I mentioned. And I do have a free guide that you can download, 5 top tips to reduce anxiety and calm your gut. I've put the link in the chat box, or you can access it via my website. And also, I'm quite excited to be launching my new 10-week online group program called Nourish and Thrive. So if you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, this program is designed to help you shift from feeling tired, overweight, sluggish, depressed and bloated to having increased energy and a happy gut and balanced moods. And it's a practical program where we'll be working to support your gut health, as well as the connection between your gut and your brain, resulting in reduced stress and healthy moods, and helping you to find increased energy and balance in your day. So we start next Monday, the 18th of November, and we'll be taking a short break over Christmas and come back ready to get 2025 off to a really good start. So the investment for that is £595, and payment plans are available. And also, please feel free to book in a free 15-minute call if you'd like to discuss your health concerns in more detail, or if you'd like to register for the Nourish
got
and
that
Thrive
book.
program.
Where's that book?
Also didn't mention that I recently published the Simple Gut Reset Cookbook, which is, Jules has got it there, available via Amazon or through my website if you're based in the UK. So if anyone has any questions, please type them in the chat box. Otherwise, thank you so much for listening. I really hope it's been helpful in some way, and you can look out for the recording. I also wanted to extend a huge thank you from all of us to the wonderful Julie Seamer for hosting this extremely valuable summit. And please do check out her book, Your Body, Your Teacher. I'd highly recommend it. She's a wealth of knowledge, and so much of it is her own personal experience.
Thank you, Helen. And gosh, I wrote Debbie's saying very helpful. Thank you, Helen. And yeah, I got some real jewels that we are more biome than our cells. Deep cleaning. I love the idea that our gut has a garden and we need to weed it. And then, Monica spoke about deep cleaning. We've had these links through the sessions, which is amazing. Dysbiosis is, most people have it, unfortunately. And yeah, I loved how you spoke about eating a rainbow, and I know you speak about it in your book too. And I loved how you had those little icons, which are in your book, because it makes the research-based guide really easy to follow. There are recipes there, but it all is very, very simple to follow, which I loved. And rest and digest, I think we all need to do that. Rest and digest to help our vagus nerve. Is drinking turmeric in water a support to the body, Helen? Eva is asking.
Turmeric in water, like a turmeric tea. Is that what you mean? Turmeric's really anti-inflammatory, so yeah, I think any kind of turmeric that you can include in your diet is always going to be a good thing. Adding black pepper helps with the absorption as well.
Yeah, you have a good turmeric latte recipe in your book.
And the turmeric shots as well. I highly recommend.
Yeah, that's right. I've had those at Helen's house with ginger and fresh
I make them a lot.
Really good idea. Very refreshing and vitalizing. Eva says thank you. There are no other questions. Did we want to hear one more time from our other presenters to say goodbye and thank you? Thanks, Helen. Very enlightening. We will have special offers coming in the emails for everyone now here and those listening to the recording, which is great. We are very sad that we've missed Sophie. She's doing something very important for a dear friend. So I really take my hat off to her, because that was just an amazing thing. She's done a real act of service. We missed her. The sessions were wonderful. I feel really nourished already. And I think if we can combine Helen's 10-week program with then Kat's dragon-inspired shaman journey, and then breathwork and her book, and then get Yoti's book and support, be supported by her resources, will be like amazing.
I wanted to also thank everybody. I've truly enjoyed today. I've truly enjoyed part of this. I truly, love the connection and all the different insights around the nervous system. And I love how we all kind of aim for the same thing, but in a completely different way. So it really has been integrated in a very deep level. So just gratitude to everybody that showed up. And if you're just listening to the recordings, we would also love, any responses. So if you still have any questions to any of us, please feel free to ask. Or if you have anything that you would like to know more about, let us know. I personally wanted to let you guys know that the exercises that I've done in the sessions, I've written them out completely in an extensive PDF form. So if you wanted to have those, you can email me and you get them from me for free. It's just really nice sometimes to actually read. It's a whole different experience to feeling something, and then to also have the background information of that. And I'm sure that all of us have more information if you wanted to know more. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for showing up, and thank you for listening.